Good day, everyone, and welcome back. Today, we are diving into one of the most emotional debates in the Australian real estate market. You're scrolling through domain or real estate website, and you see it. It's charming, it's got character, maybe it's got that white picket fence vibe. But it's not brick. It's a weatherboard house. And immediately, for many of us, the alarm bells start ringing. We got that Three Little Pigs story embedded in our psyche, right? We think, is this thing going to blow over? Is it going to rot? Is it a money pit? So, the topic for today is simple. Can you, and should you, buy a weatherboard house in Australia? What are the real pros and cons? We're going to dismantle the stereotypes, look at the construction science, and frankly, challenge some of the biases we all hold about brick being best. If you've been ignoring those wooden houses in your property search, you might be missing out on a gold mine. But if you buy one blind, you could be in for a world of maintenance pain. We need to find a middle ground. Let's get into it. Part 1. The stigma and the stereotype. Let's start with the elephant in the room. Why do we hesitate? In Australia, the dominant player, the heavyweight champion of housing, has always been the brick house. Whether that's the sturdy double brick fortresses of the mid-century or the ubiquitous brick veneer, where you have a timber frame with a brick skin. When we see weatherboard or board houses, as we often call them, many buyers instinctively recoil. The perception is that they are unreliable. There's a genuine fear that because it's wood, it's fragile. We worry about corrosion, rot, and the big one, termites. There's also a pervasive belief regarding comfort. The assumption is that a weatherboard house is basically a tent. People think, oh, in summer it's going to be a hot box because the heat penetrates right through the wood. And in winter? Forget it. It's going to be freezing because the wind will whistle through the cracks. And finally, there's the financial fear. Will it hold its value? Why go to sell this in 10 years? Will buyers turn their noses up at it, just like I'm doing now? These are all valid concerns on the surface. But as we unpack this today, you'll see that many of these are actually misconceptions, or at least problems with modern solutions. Part 2. The rot and termite reality check. Let's tackle the biggest fear first. Biology. Rot and bugs. Historically, yes, if you bought a weatherboard house built in 1920 and never painted it, the timber would rot. That is a fact. However, we need to distinguish between old-school timber and what is happening in the market today. If you're looking at a newer weatherboard home or a newly renovated one, they are rarely using raw timber planks anymore. They are using fiber cement weatherboards. This is a game changer. It looks exactly like wood. It has the grain, the texture, the shadow lines, but it is a composite material that is resistant to moisture, resistant to fire, and crucially, termites have zero interest in eating it. So if you're buying new, that rot argument is largely null and void. But what about the termites? This is the one that keeps people up at night. Here is the truth that the brick lovers don't want to hear. Brick houses get termites too. Unless you are in a full double brick home with a concrete slab and no internal timber, you are at risk. Most brick homes in Australia are brick veneer. That means the structural skeleton of the house, the bit holding the roof up, is pine timber. The brick on the outside is just a raincoat. It's not holding the house up. Termites don't discriminate. They will happily bypass the bricks and eat the internal frame of a brick house just as fast as they will eat a weatherboard house. So what's the solution? It's not avoiding weatherboard. It is due diligence. Regardless of whether you're buying a castle made of stone or a cottage made of wood, you must get a professional building and pest inspection. The inspector will tell you if there is activity. If there are termites, you walk away or negotiate. If there aren't, you maintain your barriers. Don't let the material of the cladding dictate your fear of pests, because it's a false sense of security to think bricks save you. Part 3. The structural superpower. Why would winds on movement? Now, let's move to something that I think is a massive, undersold advantage of weatherboard homes. And this is all about settlement. Australia has some tricky soil conditions. We have reactive clay in many suburbs. When it rains, the ground swells. When it's in drought, the ground shrinks. The earth is constantly moving beneath our feet. Here is where brick fails. Brick is rigid. It has zero flexibility. When the ground moves underneath a brick house, especially one that's 30, 40, or 50 years old, the bricks cannot flex. They crack. We've all seen those jagged cracks running up the side of an old brick veneer home. Fixing that? It is a nightmare. You're talking about underpinning, injecting resin into the ground, potentially spending tens of thousands of dollars to stabilize the foundation. Weatherboard houses, however, are flexible. What has a natural give? When the ground shifts slightly, the timber frame and the weatherboards move with it. They don't crack in the same catastrophic way. So, while a brick house might look solid, a weatherboard house is actually more resilient to the natural shifting of the Australian landscape over decades. You rarely see a weatherboard house with the kind of structural cracking that plagues old brick suburbs. That is a massive hidden cost you might be avoiding. Part 4. The Renovation Revolution. Let's talk about lifestyle and the Australian dream of renovation. We all watch The Block. We all want to knock down a wall, put in a bifold door, and build that indoor-outdoor deck. If you buy a double brick house, good luck. You are essentially living in a bunker. Moving a wall requires structural engineers, massive steel beams, and huge labor costs. It is difficult, dirty, and expensive work. This is why when you go house hunting, you often see old brick houses that look, well, sad. They are dark, the layouts are compartmentalized, and they haven't been updated in 40 years. Why? Because the owners put it in the too hard basket. The cost to modernize the structure was just too high. Contrast that with weatherboard. Weatherboard houses are a renovator's delight. You want to add a window to let in more northern light? Easy. Cut the frame, reinforce it, pop it in. You want to extend the back? It's a carpentry job, not a masonry job. The flexibility of the structure means that for the same renovation budget, you can achieve a much higher standard of finish in a weatherboard home. This is why you see so many stunning, modernized weatherboard homes on the market compared to drab, unrenovated brick ones. It allows you to adapt the house to your life, rather than you having to adapt to the house. Part 5. The thermal debate. Hot or cold? We have to address the insulation issue because the source material touched on this, and it's a very common complaint. It's too hot in summer, too cold in winter. Historically, this was true. An old, uninsulated weatherboard cottage is basically a sieve. It has low thermal mass. Unlike brick, which holds heat and keeps it radiating into the house at night during a heat wave, wood heats up fast and cools down fast. However, this argument is a double-edged sword. In a brick house, once that thermal mass heats up after 3 days of 40-degree heat, it takes days to cool down. It's like living inside a pizza oven. With a weatherboard house, yes, it heats up, but as soon as the cool change hits in the evening, the house cools down almost instantly. Furthermore, because the walls are hollow timber frames, it is incredibly easy to retrofit high-quality insulation bats in the walls. You can pump up the R-value thermal resistance significantly. An insulated weatherboard home can actually perform better than an uninsulated brick home. So, don't write it off as a freezing box. It's just a matter of whether it has been updated with modern insulation standards. Part 6. Maintenance and Aesthetics, the Paintbrush Dilemma. Now, I'm not here to tell you weatherboard is perfect. It has an Achilles heel, and that is maintenance. Bricks are set and forget. You build it, and for 50 years, you largely ignore the outside walls. Weatherboard requires love. It requires paint. Over time, paint fades under the harsh Australian UV sun. It peels. It cracks. If you neglect a weatherboard house for 5 or 6 years, it starts to look shabby very quickly. And unlike brick, where shabby just means vintage, shabby weatherboard implies rot and neglect. You have to factor this into your budget. Every 7 to 10 years, you'll need to repaint. Now, you can do this yourself. It's very DIY friendly, or you can hire someone, but it is an ongoing cost that brick owners don't have. However, and there's always a however, this maintenance burden is also an aesthetic opportunity. If you hate the color of your brick house, too bad. You're stuck with those 1970s brown speckles unless you pay a fortune to render it. If you hate the color of your weatherboard house, grab a tin of paint. You can completely transform the look of your home over a weekend. You can go from a white Hamptons look to a moody charcoal modern vibe instantly. That curb appeal flexibility is something that real estate agents love, and it can add massive value before a sale. Part 7. The hidden financial benefits, demolition and relocation. Here are 2 points that nobody really thinks about until they are deep in the property game. Number 1. Demolition costs. Let's say you're buying a property primarily for the land value. You plan to live in the house for 10 years, save up, and then knock it down to build your dream home. Knocking down a brick house is expensive. It's heavy, hard to dispose of, and labor-intensive. Knocking down a weatherboard house? It is significantly cheaper. The demolition costs are lower, meaning more of your budget goes into the new build. Number 2. The relocation trick. This is my favorite party trick of weatherboard houses. You can literally pick them up and move them. You've probably seen it on TV, Discovery Channel style. They jack up the house, slide a truck underneath, and drive it away. Why does this matter? Well, if you want to build a new house, instead of paying to demolish the old one, you might be able to sell the old weatherboard house to a relocation company. They take it away, and you get a clear block of land. You can't do that with brick. Once a brick is laid, it's there until it's smashed. This modular nature of weatherboard adds a layer of versatility that is completely unique. Part 8. The verdict. How to choose. So, we've looked at the science, the bugs, the renovation potential, and the costs. The question remains, should you buy one? It often comes down to a specific scenario that I see buyers face all the time. The scenario, you have a fixed budget. Let's say $1 million. In the suburb you want, that $1 million gets you one of 2 things. A really rundown, dark, small brick house that needs a gut renovation. A beautifully renovated, bright, modern weatherboard house with a nice deck and a new kitchen. Which you choose? Many people choose the rundown brick because they think it's a safer asset. But they end up living in a miserable house for 10 years because they can't afford the renovation. My advice? Don't be afraid of option B. The renovated weatherboard offers you a better lifestyle now. It's easier to maintain than you think, especially if it's fiber cement, it's inspected for termites, and it likely has better resale appeal because it looks beautiful, whereas the rundown brick house just looks tired. The conclusion: weatherboard houses are not the poor cousins of real estate. They're the flexible, charming, adaptable cousins. Yes, they have flaws. They need paint. They need insulation checks. But their strengths, structural flexibility, ease of renovation, lower entry costs, and aesthetic charm are powerful. Don't let the 3 little pigs myth dictate your financial future. If the building inspection is clean and the location is right, a weatherboard home can be one of the best investments you ever make. That's a wrap for this week's Deep Dive. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review and tell a friend who's scared of buying a non-brick house. Thanks for listening, and see you next time.